Hey guys, I want to take some time to go through all of the deadlines and details for the scholarly article project. I'm going to just kind of talk about each one in a nutshell and give a basic explanation of what I want you to do. If you read them all, there's a lot more information. One of the things before I get started that I think maybe not for most people, but for enough people that I think it's worth saying, I think is a misunderstanding of the assignment, is that when I say scholarly article, some people are thinking that means you have to write an article. Definitely not the case. All you have to do is read one and then report on it, essentially. So you don't have to write any kind of article. You don't have to do any research except for finding one article. And so just knowing that kind of when you begin, I think will help you better understand all the assignments as you're reading through each deadline. First deadline is select your area of interest. Tell me, what is it that you're going to try and find a scholarly article on? I mean, what topic are you going to try and find a scholarly article on? So if I pick the topic of Harry Potter, then all I'm saying is that when I'm doing research, I want to find a scholarly article, probably in ProQuest, on the topic of Harry Potter. I don't necessarily have to know if I mean Harry Potter the book or Harry Potter the movie or what. I just need to know that I'm looking for a scholarly article on Harry Potter. You can narrow it down once you find an article that you like, or you can have it already narrowed. It's totally up to you, but I just want to know what you're thinking. The reason I'm asking for this is because if someone put science as their topic, I would say that's way too broad. How are you going to just go to ProQuest and search science? You're going to kind of be faced with the Netflix dilemma times 1,000, where there's so much that you could find and you have no idea what to pick. All right, so the second deadline is actually finding your scholarly article. So I tell you to go to ProQuest, but you could go wherever you want. Really doesn't matter. There are other places to find scholarly articles. On here I talk about Google Scholar. The library database has a lot of other databases that probably have scholarly articles like JSTOR, things like that. But ProQuest is the one that I've used the most, and it's, I think, the best resource that we have at Mitchell, although there are better ones if you wanted to pay for them, but I don't recommend doing that. Alright, so deadline 2. All you have to do is find that scholarly article, and what should you do when you find it? Notice in here, down here in bold, please give me a citation for it and attach a PDF file. If you use ProQuest, they'll give you a citation for it and you just have to confirm that it's correct, and then you can put it in. Most people, once they found the article, are getting full credit for having the citation and everything like that. At that point, again, you won't be able to move on to step 3 until I approve your article. I have approved, I think, almost all of them, and then I've asked a couple of people to find a new article because the one they had submitted, I think it was just a situation where it was more of a review than a scholarly article. So as long as you are finding a scholarly article that has, usually they will have an abstract, although not all of them do. It'll be multiple pages long, it'll have references, sometimes it will have data sheets, but not all the time. Some people are maybe staying more on the side of literature, things like that. That's not going to have any data sheets to it for the most part. So you find your article, you give me the PDF and a citation for it. I look at that article, I make sure that it's actually a scholarly article. That's all I'm looking for. And then I email you and say, yes, I approve it, or no, I don't approve it, and here's why. Once I approve your article, you can do scholarly article project step 3, 4, and 5 in whatever order you want to do it. I think going 3, 4, and 5 is probably the most logical, though. Okay, so then when you get to deadline 3, all you need to do is preview your article. So before you actually read it, I want you to figure it out a little bit. And I legitimately want you to answer every single question that I have here in this bulleted list. What's the title of the article? What does the title suggest about its content? You can go into more detail. That's fine. How many authors wrote the article? Count the number of authors' names you see. Where was it published? Find that information. How many pages is it? Find that information for me. Does it have an abstract? If it does, how long is it? If it doesn't, just say no. Apart from the abstract, are there labeled sections? If so, how many? What are their labels? This is really just a matter of looking at the article and collecting the information that I'm asking for. The next one is what kind of citation is the author using to cite their sources? So are they writing in MLA or APA or some other type of formatting style? This will probably be the hardest question that you have to answer, and I just want you to spend some time thinking about, I know you don't know every citation style out there, but what can you do? You can ask Google, what citation style does this publication use, and put the publication in there, whoever published the scholarly article. Or you can, look at a couple of different other types of citation styles. Our textbook has Chicago and CSE, and then of course there are other ones. So just use your logic brain to figure out how you can answer that question. And if you're wrong, that's okay. Y'all know I'm not going to go and look at every single one of those citations and see if you're wrong. It'll be okay. How many sources are cited at the end of the article? Okay, so when you answer deadline 3, all I want is you to have a bulleted list. You don't have to write me a paragraph. You don't have to write me an essay. Just answer the questions in a list. Show me that you previewed your article. Obviously, the answer should match the content. Deadline 4, summarize the article. So now you have to read it and write a summary. You do not have to write me an essay. It doesn't need an introduction or a conclusion. It's 150 words. And if you think about it, the amount of words I wrote here and then just highlighting this explanation is about 75 words. So double that. That's as much content as I want you to write. Just a summary. What's the main idea? What are some of the supporting details? I will, if I think you've BS'd your summary, I will go and look at your scholarly article and make sure that you didn't just copy the abstract. You certainly cannot copy and paste the abstract. It has to be your summary. You have to read the article and understand it. Deadline 5, this one is the one that's the most creative. Everything else is just tell me all the information. Deadline 5 is that I want you to describe a hypothetical scenario. So let me read this. Describe a hypothetical scenario where a scholar would include and cite this scholarly article in their own research. If you found an article and it was titled something like Harry Potter, an analysis of Hermione's feminism, and the scholarly article talked mostly about book 4, where Hermione has this whole spew cause where she's trying to protect the house elves and their rights and their working rights and paying them because they technically work for free at Hogwarts, and she feels like that's a certain type of slavery. So maybe the whole article's really kind of talking about that. In what scenario would maybe a student researcher come upon this article and say, hey, this would be really good for my paper? I only need one hypothetical scenario, and so maybe I would say something like a researcher is trying to define feminism and they want to use this scholarly article to show a certain type of feminism as social justice or something like that. And so I want you to kind of consider okay, you found this article, you read it, you thought about it. Why would a scholar say, ooh, this article would be good for my research? In what hypothetical imagination brain context could you make that up? What do you think? Please notice that your response should be at least 75 words. Again, that's something I don't really know how many words this is. That's probably something like the number of words that you see that I just highlighted here. Okay, there's 77 words. Now, if you write me one sentence, that's not enough content. That's only 18 to 20 words. So I do want you to give me a couple of different sentences and kind of explaining that hypothetical scenario a little bit. But that visually, if you're looking at that, That's really as much writing as I need you to do. So this project is not writing intensive. It's reading intensive. It's considering things. Again, the goal of the project is just to make sure that you guys are genuinely engaging with a true scholarly article. I want you to have that content engagement before you go on to a university, because otherwise I will have failed you.